Good morning. Hey, Steve Weber here, American Gumption Morning Show. Gosh, I haven't done a show live in a week. It was Monday, the 5th of April, Monday, 8 days ago when I last did my last broadcast from Kansas City when I was with my brother John, and we did the World War I memorial episode. And so the rest of that week, I was thinking I was going to go live last week, but it turned out I decided that I was going to finish up my 3.5 week journey and just sort of give myself a little bit of a vacation from broadcasting. I didn't really announce it. It just sort of happened. I kept thinking I want to go live the next day and the next day. And I just didn't have the, I didn't have the ability to get myself organized and the energy to make it happen. I was just on the road. It was the end of the trip. And so finally at the end, I was like, okay, I just got to survive this. I just need to enjoy the experience the last few days of being on the road. And so anyway, did not do a broadcast, but I wanted to come on today, and I wasn't even sure what was going to happen yesterday or today, but I had planned to do a show about a recap of it. And so I started getting it together, and then it came down to me not feeling like I was ready to do that fully. And so then I thought, okay, I'm not going to do a show today. And then I went, okay, I'll just do a show today, but I'll just do a quick little verbal summary. So here's the plan. I'm going to go ahead and just update everybody on what has happened in the last, the last few days, the last week, just kind of a quick summary. And then I have some numbers that I'll share with you, but I'm going to do a recap show on Thursday. So today is Tuesday. On Thursday this week, I'll do a recap show of the whole trip. And I kind of do a timeline going through it, where I was, pictures of the people I met, and, that sort of thing. And I was planning, like I said, to do that today, but it just didn't happen. So anyway, here I am. So this is only going to be probably about a 10-15 minute show, just a quick brief summary of it. But I wanted to go live and update people. I'm even a few minutes late coming on because, I don't feel like I'm back in the groove of broadcasting, but I thought I better at least do something and say hello. So anyway, hey, welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show on Tuesday, April 13th. And today is show number 155. And I did do 10 episodes on the road when I was the 3.5 weeks. And some of them were kind of abbreviated shows, and a couple of them were full shows. But anyway, I want to go through all of that on Thursday and talk about, the whole adventure, and, have enough graphics to kind of go through a timeline. And hopefully it'll be an interesting show, and summarize what had happened. So anyway, Tuesday, April 13th, show 155. And this is just the back home update is what it's called. There's no guest today. Now I do have a guest tomorrow, Pamela Jane Gerard, and she is going to be joining us. And she is a singer-songwriter, a speaker, a writer, a sage, a sound alchemist, and a wisdom keeper. And so I saw her interviewed on Kathy Mason's show, probably almost 2 months ago, and reached out. And so we scheduled, she's going to come on and join us, and we'll talk about what she's doing and how she's making a difference in the world and how she's living her life with Gumption. That's going to be tomorrow's show. So we'll just leave that at that, and we'll be on a regular show, back to kind of a normal schedule, starting tomorrow on Wednesday, the 14th, and then on Thursday, like I said, I have it about halfway planned, but I just didn't quite get it done in time for today's show. So then, but anyway, I'm going to do an update. I'm going to run through and kind of do a summary of the whole trip in terms of places I went and people I saw and that whole thing. And I've got pictures to show. So it'll be a bit of a produced show, but it'll be live. So anyway, that's going to come up on Thursday. And then Friday will be to be announced. I do plan to go live on Friday with a show. And then we'll think next week we're kind of back to the old original schedule. So anyway, welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show, broadcasting on Spirituality Gone Wild and the American Gumption Facebook page and American Gumption YouTube channel. So thank you very much for being here. All righty. So as I said, today's monologue is just sort of just a kind of a back home update. I got home. So here's what happened. I got home on Sunday at about 3 p.m., 3 o'clock in the afternoon. and I had spent the night out in the Pittsburgh area and drove about 6 hours to get here and arrived. Ironically, the only rain that I had to drive in the entire time was the last 3 hours of the trip. And it wasn't like a downpour, although there was times when it was raining pretty hard, but most of the time it was kind of like, in and out of the rain and spritzing and roads wet and that sort of thing. And then kind of a steady drizzle, and then kind of even a few times where you really had to slow down. But the entire 3.5 weeks, not much rain at all. So great trip. But I came home and the house was filled. Sister Jean from California, John and Rosemary from Kansas City were here, and all of my sister Eileen's nieces, or her sons and daughters, her sons and daughters and grandchildren were here. And so the house was filled with people. There were 25 people here, 21 adults, four children. And so it was a party. I walked right into the middle of it, and then it's been going on ever since. And so yesterday I kind of knew I wasn't going to be able to do a show, and just because of that. And then it kind of just continued. And so I got myself organized yesterday, but not quite back into it. So anyway, hopefully today will be the day that I really get myself organized. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm just tell you about the numbers of what happened on the road. So I ended up spending 25 nights out there. So I guess 26 days. The first day was March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. I flew out to California and then spent the next 25 nights. So I'm just going to go through some numbers. Northern California, 4 nights at Sister Jean's house. 4 nights in Southern California at Victoria Reynolds. 1 night in Palm Springs at Dr. Sharon Stroud's house. I spent 1 night in a rest area. I couldn't find a hotel. And so it got to the point where it was so late and I couldn't find a hotel to stay at. And so then I'm just going to find a rest stop and sleep for a few hours. And that's what happened. So that would have been Friday night, kind of the day 8 or so, where I ended up just sleeping in a rest stop somewhere in Utah. Yeah. So the next day drove to Salt Lake City, spent 1 night in Salt Lake City, and then 4 nights in Boulder. And that was Sunday through Wednesday of that second full week. And then Kansas City, Brother John's house, 5 nights there. Fort Wayne, Indiana, at Steve and Radiance Tyler's at their home and studio, broadcast, recording studio that they've just built. 1 night in Akron at a hotel, and then the last 2 nights were in Ford City at Diane Thomas's house, childhood friend Diane Thomas. So it turns out 26 days, 25 nights out on the road. So 9 of those nights were spent with family. 7 of them were with the Spirituality Gone Wild co-creators. 5 nights were in the hotel. 3 nights at friends' houses, not connected with Spirituality Gone Wild. 3 nights with the friends, and then 1 night in the rest area. And the total miles that I went were 4,168 miles I drove. So now, if I had taken a direct route from Santa Clara, California to Green Lane, Pennsylvania, it was about 2,900 miles. That would have been if I just drove straight across the country. So I took an indirect route, and the indirect route added about 700 miles. So it was 3,600 miles that I kind of drove in terms of driving around. And in addition to that, I did 560 miles of side trips. So from Victoria's house, we went out to Palm Springs and then back again. That was like 300 miles. I did Monterey. I took a trip from Northern California, from Sister Jean's house down to Monterey and then back again. And that was 160 miles. And then when I was in Boulder, it was about another 100 miles that I spent just driving around from the 4 nights at the hotel, going different places, meeting nephew Jake, going to Angie LaRue's Crystal Sanctum. And so just kind of out and about running around. And so that was like a total of side trips, 560 miles plus the direct miles, or the indirect route, 3,600. So yeah, 4,000, almost 4,200 miles, a little bit shy of that. I estimated I drove for 75 hours. it was funny because I thought, oh, how many miles did I go? And I didn't really know. I didn't add it up. And I said, oh, about 40 hours. And then I'm like, oh, no, that's not right. And then I went, oh, it must be 50 or 60. And then I'm like, no, that's not right. And I went, maybe 60 or 70. And then I'm still not sure. And so then I said, it's got to be 70 or 80. And then I finally went and I kind of did a calculation of all the hours I drove, and I came up with 75. So let's just assume that it's 75 hours that I was actually in the car behind the wheel driving, and with the 4,200 or 4,168 miles, it turns out to be 55 miles average speed that I was traveling across the country with it. So, and then the last thing I'll just tell you about is that I used 98.7 gallons of gas, and the Toyota Prius ended up averaging 42 plus miles per gallon. About 42.4 is what I estimate it to be, 42.4 miles per gallon on my trip. So that was pretty cool, driving around and, getting 40 plus miles to the gallon. The tank is only about 10 gallons. So you could go about 400 miles on a tank of gas, and that was pretty incredible. So I think I spent just $326 on gasoline for that 4,200 miles. So that's it. It's good to be back home again. Do need to get myself a little bit, resituated in it. It was funny. I guess a couple of last thoughts on the trip. The goal of the trip was to really, kind of do a beta test for living and working from the road. So I had some ideas for the technology on how it might work. I had the technology down for broadcasting from the studio here, but the technology for on the road, I had a couple tripods and my iPad and an iPhone, and, you can record some nice video with that. But you can't zoom in with the cameras very well, so there's certain things you can do with those cameras and pretty good. And then there's other things. And I thought about, using, these cameras and connecting it to the StreamYard. And I tried all that and found out that it was a little bit clunky and cumbersome. So found a simpler way to just record an interview using the iPhone and then doing some editing over it. So anyway, it was a great experience. Learned a lot from it. When I was in Fort Wayne talking with Steve Tyler, he laid out a whole vision on how I can upgrade my technology and make it work a lot better. So I have a pretty good understanding of that. I'll share that, coming up in the next few weeks. I'll share it. Gosh, I have one major interview that needs editing, and I can broadcast that. And then I have four or five little mini interviews that I still have that, can be edited and broadcast, and just didn't have time to do that. So one of the things that I guess I learned was that, on this particular trip, I scheduled time to be places with people and time for driving to places to be with people, but I really didn't have enough time scheduled to, do any editing or post-production or pre-production for the shows. And so the shows were a little bit makeshift. They weren't quite as organized and as tight as I would like them to be, and that they will be in the future once I'm living out there. But that was all part of that experience and learning it. So it was really a good time. So that's, I think that's it. I just wanted to kind of give you a quick update and let you know that I'm alive and well and excited to be back home and excited to kind of go into this next phase of the American Gumption Morning Show in terms of, what's happening. I think what's going to happen is I had done about 140 some shows before I left on the trip, and then 10 shows on the road. So today's number 155. The American Gumption Morning Show will continue to broadcast at this kind of normal time for the next several months, kind of what it's been, but it'll begin to add more pre-recorded and pre-produced interviews as I go out. And it's now possible that, people are willing to meet in person a little bit more than they were before. And so, maybe I'll start to add some of those pre-recorded interviews in it. And then once I actually get out there living on the road, I'll probably I'll probably change the name of the American Gumption Morning Show to maybe just the American Gumption Daily Show or the American Gumption Broadcast. I'm not sure. We'll figure that out. But it'll be a lot more of a there'll be a lot more pre-recorded shows that are part of it, and it'll be a combination of live and pre-recorded mixed together, whereas up until this point it's mostly just been live. And so I think going forward we'll just continue with this format, but once I actually get living on the road, I think I'm going to end up changing the name of it from the morning show. And here's another reason why I'm going to change the name of the morning show is because when you're on the West Coast, the morning show 7 a.m. Not so much fun to do. So I don't know whether I'll broadcast it at a regular time or whether I'll broadcast it just throw them out there whenever they happen to go out there. So anyway, that's it. I just wanted to stop in real quick and let everybody know that I'm alive and well, get back into the saddle as far as broadcasting. Hadn't done a show in 8 days. And so felt like it was critical that they get back and get started again. Tomorrow, regular broadcast. Thursday, regular broadcast. Friday, planning on a regular broadcast. Next week, kind of a 4 or 5 days we'll end up doing, have one guest at least, or one or two guests scheduled for next week already. So we'll just start filling the schedule back in and getting going with the whole broadcast thing. So that's it. Tuesday, April 13th, show number 155 in the can. Send it off to the broadcast archives, and this was basically just my monologue being the back home update. So good to be back home and good to be broadcasting again. Alrighty, tomorrow Pamela Jane Gerard, and she will be joining us. She is a singer, songwriter, poet, speaker, writer, sage, sound alchemist, wisdom keeper. She will be joining us live tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. Pacific time. All righty. Have a great day. I will see you tomorrow.